Greetings everyone, hope you're all doing very well. This is LinkedIn Arthur here, and I just wanted to do a video talking about the recent controversies surrounding the Goku versus Superman death battle. I wanted to discuss the truth about this matter. It shows a lot of the sickness that exists within our world, a lot of the philosophical deficiency that our society has bred, and each of the two characters here represent, the opposing contradictions within our society. And so I think that it's really important to look at this and to see, how far we've fallen, where we're going, and where the solutions lie. So let's look at the two main characters. We have Goku and we have Superman. Now, Goku is from a family of murderous planet-conquering aliens known as the Saiyans. Once he realizes this, when he's confronted by his homicidal brother Raditz, he confronts him, and he says, "No, I won't kill hundreds of humans to join you in your planet-conquering schemes." And he defused from his family. He leaves his family behind and joins a new family that he found on the internet, namely Chi-Chi, Krillin, and the likes, teaming up with his former adversary Piccolo from Namek. He wasn't born with his powers. He was born weak as a normal person, and over the years, through hard work and many hours and 100 times normal gravity, or in the room of spirit and time, he progressed and became stronger and stronger and stronger until he attained power levels well over 9,000. He doesn't work with the government. He's not friends with the government. All his power comes from himself. None of it comes from outside. He's built it all. He's become free in his own mind, and it's freed his body from the normal limitations of both his species and of physics generally. Now let's look at Superman. Superman is an arch-paternalistic figure. He's portrayed as omnipotent by his supporters. However, his actions indicate that he is nothing even close to omnipotent. He has no power himself. All of it comes from another source, the sun, which is just a metaphor for the ideological support that the state is dependent upon for its power. He takes a very paternalistic position within society, but also uses that paternalistic mentality as a boon to the state, who he's perpetually trying to protect and to serve, and in the most nationalistic, patriotic way imaginable. If we look, he's usually claimed, if you watch the Goku versus Superman death battle, it's claimed that Superman has powers, like he has he has the power to withstand 800 septillion megaton explosion, or that he can pull 500 googolplex masses of the planet, and that he can fly 15 times the speed of light and still function at that speed, and he has a super brain speed, and blah blah blah. Basically, that he's God. But we can see that this is a lie, because if you watch any Superman movie or cartoon show, he can't do any of those things. If he could actually fly 15 times the speed of light, he could intercede in every single malicious act ever on the planet. He could stop every burglar, every robbery. I mean, he could sense it, because he could fly around the planet, thousands of times a second at that speed, or whatever it is, survey it with his super eyes, and he could see every single thing that was happening, and he could intervene. He could even stop people from stubbing their toes. This is even if he didn't have, supposedly, X-ray vision, super hearing that can hear through a vacuum, and all these other powers. So, the projection is this omnipotent being, and then we learn also, since he's not actually going around saving everybody all the time, that although he is alleged to be omnipotent, he's also an asshole because he doesn't just save everybody all the time. He allows people to die, whatever. But as we can see in reality, he isn't actually anywhere near as powerful as his ideological fanboys would like us to believe. He can't move that fast. He gets struck by bullets that don't move anywhere even a tiny fraction of the speed of light. You know, you look at when he gets struck by an artillery shell or a ship or a tank. You know, his body will recoil from the physical impact. All right, that should not be possible if he has 800 septillion resistance. All right. You know, I remember very distinctly when he was fighting Apocalypse that he had to strain, or fighting Doomsday, Darkseid. When he was fighting Darkseid, he had to strain to pick up a piece of the floor to block the Omega rays. Okay, if you have to strain to pick up, you know, a 3 cubic meter piece of rock, then you cannot move 100 septillion planet Earths or whatever bullshit, you know, the supporters of Superman say. It is a paternalistic metaphor that people, because they were abused, like to imagine is going to be there to save them. They were abused by their parents, and so they invent Superman as an all-powerful, omnipotent god to run everything. But he doesn't actually help everyone all the time, because just like their parents who were spanking and beating and raping them, Superman is just aloof to all of your actual problems. It's very similar to the government that supposedly is there to defend us, but actually isn't obligated to defend anybody. It's the same thing. That's who Superman is. Now we look at Goku, and a character who earned his living. He defooed his horrible family, his malicious, his murderous Saiyan race of planet stealers, and devoted his life to tranquility and peace and raising a family in a very, very good way. And you know, he doesn't get his power from the sun, which is an allegory for the ideological support from the state. He's earned his power himself, and then all of a sudden we hear he'd lose in a fight to Superman. This is totally ridiculous. All right, Superman's power level, as is indicated in terms of the kinetic consistency of his physical strength throughout all the renditions of Superman that exist, his power level is probably less than 9,000. All right, that's pretty much a legitimately correct analysis of his physical abilities. All right, his speed, his strength, his laser vision is basically the equivalent of the Dodon ray that Tien used. All right, not anything more than that. And I think that the people, some of the fanboys of Superman, realize this, because if you look at the movie, Superman is defeated by a large Kryptonian named Namek. But of course, Namek is actually the race that Piccolo is from. So I think this is the producers of the show indicating that Superman would actually lose in a fight with a Namek. And that could be any Namek. That could be Dende or Nail. But even if it was Piccolo, the strongest ever, the Piccolo Kami merged entity, or Lord Slug perhaps, he'd be no match for Goku. And I think this is an indication that they realize that it's all a lie, that Superman isn't actually that strong. I know there's a couple other things. You know, the argument that Superman is stronger is based on logical fallacy. You know, in the Death Battle series, they conclude that, you know, Goku can break any limit, which is true. On the free market, an individual who has the correct philosophy and who has defooed his family, they can do anything, literally. So that's, you know, they can break any limit. But then they say Superman has no limits. Why does Superman have no limits? Because he's powered by the sun. Okay, now this does not make any sense. All right, because the sun does not produce infinite energy over its entire lifetime or at any given moment. All right, so to say that Superman has infinite energy doesn't make any sense. What's more, it's pretty obvious that Superman is only absorbing a very tiny fraction of the sun's energy. Why do we know this? Because there's brightness in the sky, because osmosis happens in plants, because there's this giant burning star in the middle of our solar system. If Superman had 100% of the sun's energy, there wouldn't be any energy for light, there wouldn't be any energy for plants, there wouldn't be any heat energy, there wouldn't be any radiant energy, there'd be none because Superman would be absorbing it all. Alright? But Do you ever hear like Lois come out when Superman's away in space and be like, "Oh, it's so much brighter and hotter today because Superman has left, and that energy is now, you know, falling on us and not being absorbed by him." Or when he comes back, like, "Oh, it's so much dimmer now because Superman has arrived and is absorbing some noticeable amount of energy from the sun." That never happens because the amount of power that Superman gets from the sun is apparently very negligible. And even if it was 100%, it wouldn't be infinite. So we can see that the logic by which Superman would defeat Goku is completely spurious. What's more is that kryptonite is actually UPB. Okay, so you cannot have a philosophy of aggression that's contradictory, all right, which is the belief in the state, which is the metaphor of the sun. That's where the state gets its power from ideology. Superman gets his power from the sun. The kryptonite destroys the power of the sun / Superman, and kryptonite is UPB. It is the philosophy that that culminates 6,000 years of history right there. It's so clear. Now, a lot of people really like Superman, but that's mostly because they were abused as a child. They had to create an omnipotent father figure who, although all powerful and can't be resisted, is not actually good enough to go around and take the time to protect people, which is exactly what this government's like. People like to imagine that it's all powerful, but on the same token, they just excuse it when it allows bad things to happen. Same thing with Superman. Now, Goku does not take that kind of responsibility on. Yes, he saves the planet many, many times, just like capitalism saves the planet many, many times. But it's just taken for granted. Goku is pursuing his own self-interest because he likes to fight. Now, when Goku fights, it's not because he was raped as a child or anything. It's because he's fighting people who want to undo his defooing. So it's different. But it's just like the invisible hand in the market, okay? When Goku is fighting other people, he's doing it because he likes doing it, and the fact that it has a positive externality of preventing the planet from being destroyed, other than in the few cases when the planet was destroyed, but then he always wishes it back with the Dragon Ball, so that's a different side topic. It's an example of why markets work and why government doesn't. So, anyway, Superman is the government. Goku is much stronger than Superman, just like markets are much stronger than governments are. And anyone who doesn't like this or gives me a downvote, they're doing it because they were raped as a child.